This is our final show ever on 98.7 FM. It's obviously simulcast on 880, and starting on Monday with our show, it will be on 880, 101.1 HD2 on the FM side, and obviously on the ESPN app or on yes, that's starting on Tuesday. Monday, we're off on Labor Day. And I just wanted to say, Don, 12 years on this frequency, it's been a blast. It's been a great frequency for us. We conquered a lot of things that many people said couldn't be conquered. We finished first overall, not just on sports shows, but we finished first. And we were riding high on 98.7, and then the pandemic hit. And that had unbelievable consequences for us. Forget about, the terrible things that it did to the world.
Sure.
But 98.7 has been very, very good to us. And we want to thank the people of 98.7, the people that we leased this from. It meant a lot. It changed the course of this station's history. And there's a little bit of sadness in saying goodbye to it. But knowing that we are now on a flamethrower on the AM side of 880. I was listening to Bart and Hahn, and people were calling in, and they're getting the station easily in Boston. We're driving down the eastern seaboard of the United States, they're hearing 880. So it's a great signal, and we're so thrilled that our bosses decided to lease this out. But it's somewhat melancholy leaving 98.7 because we did some really cool things on 98.7.
No, a major turning point in this radio station's history. But to be a little bit lighthearted, if you don't mind, who is the biggest name that pops into your head when you think about 98.7?
Biggest name.
I don't want to be political. That'll give you a bit of a hint.
You don't want to be political.
Yes.
I don't know.
Mike Huckabee pops into my head.
Why?
Because when we converted to 98.7, a lot of work was dumped on Mike Brownshire. And we had a party.
He's our imaging guy.
He's our imaging guy, Mike Brownshire, who Michael describes as a melted candle. So you can have a mental image of
Mike
Brownshire. Right. And the night before was our dinner with Mark Sanchez, where we had listeners and clients, and Mike had, he indulged. So all of a sudden, and on that night, we made the announcement we moved to 98.7. So he was a tad bit dehydrated the next day, and he had to do all of the re-imaging from 1050 to 98.7, and he ended up having an episode where he passed out. Michael was in the room when Mike passed out, and you ran to try to get help.
It was a weird pass out. It wasn't like a pass out that I've ever seen before. It's like it kind of went down to the ground in stages.
Like his battery was dying.
Yeah.
And you were concerned, so you ran out, and the person, I guess, that you ran into or knew what to do was Mike Huckabee, because he was doing something at ABC, and Mike Huckabee was able to stabilize and went to the hospital. It turned out he was fine. He was just dehydrated. He was doing so much work and everything, but that's the story. Every time I think of that conversion to 98.7, I think about that wacky incident. But I remember Justin Craig saying to us, everything that you did before us going to 98.7, forget about it. This is a game changer. And I was kind of insulted. I'm like, we worked our tails off on 1050 to kind of build an audience and everything. But he was absolutely right, Michael. It was such a turning point for us. It was such a better signal. It really put us out there, put us in a position to finally win, which we definitely took advantage of. So it's tough to see it go, but I'm hoping for bigger and better things now with this shift. I was listening to Rick and Dave, and a guy a truck driver saying he was able to get the station in Delaware the other day. So this is big for us too. But I'm glad you brought it up, because it's not just all right, we're moving on, let's forget about it. There was an amazing 12 years on that frequency.
I mean, just to put it this way, when Don and I got together and started the afternoon drive show with Joey, the big guy on the top of the hill was a radio icon. It was Mike Francesa. At which point he called us a pea shooter. We would never even come close to him. And then to finally beat him, I mean, there was a lot of times that we were really, really close. And, at that point, we even got close. But then when we finally beat him, that was amazing. We beat everybody they put in front of us. including Evan and Craig, and then the pandemic hit, and radio changed, and listeners changed, and the way people drove in their cars changed, and it did affect us. It really did. But just to be able to beat an iconic figure, who when the history of radio is written for sports talked on, they're going to talk about Mike Francesa, and we were able to knock him down. So that was on this frequency. And you know what I'm going to do right now if you're watching on Yes?
What is that?
I'm going to take down the 98.7 magnet because this doesn't work anymore, right? After today. We're going to have to get new magnets and whatever, new backgrounds.
Yeah, I would symbolically bring my background down right now, but I need to kind of check during the break to make sure there's nothing behind it.
Yeah, it could be somebody nude.
So, nobody nude. But,
how do you know? You don't know.
I think I would know if there was somebody nude back there. But yeah, so it's a cool day. It's an interesting transition, but it was 12. That's the other thing too, Michael. 12 years ago, really.
Wow.
Jeez.
Unbelievable times. So there we go. Start off the show that way.